It's 2026, and by now, men have taken all the dating advice that they were told.
How to get a top-tier girl. Number 1, get in shape.
Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
I will make myself more attractive by enhancing my face and body.
But yet, a lot of them are still saying the same thing. I checked all the boxes and none of it's working. Men are finding out that optimizing a checklist is not getting them the results they thought it would. And honestly, I think that that's the best thing that could have happened, because that failure exposes the real problem. You see, modern dating advice taught men to build themselves around female approval.
Buy clothes that fit correctly.
I will get a photo shoot done, post the best ones on dating apps, then from there, build my Instagram account so that it looks more higher status.
Get rich, don't be a dick.
It's clear skin. When a woman see a man with clear skin, that bumps him up an extra 2 to 3 points.
If you do those 3 things, like, you'll be able to get whatever girls you want.
And on the surface, none of that is bad, but a lot of men were never taught to want those things for themselves. It's only once they became tied to being chosen by a woman that they became attractive. And that's exactly why it's not working, because men were not meant to sit around hoping to be chosen. We're meant to choose. I remember when I was younger, I had to transfer to a new high school. Back then, I would have never been considered to be a cool kid by any measure. In fact, during my first week, a group of girls approached me saying their friend thought I was cute. So I walk on over to her, and before I could get a single word out, her reaction, followed by a burst of laughter, told me everything I needed to know. Her friends had played a prank on her, and I was the butt of the joke. Nevertheless, that didn't stop me from talking to girls in high school. And looking back on it, I think what I was doing at the time without realizing it is letting attraction build slowly. By no way was I winning off status, and I wasn't a flashy guy. But I would talk to girls, and back then we didn't have cell phones, so I would be on my mom's landline phone talking to girls all night. Eventually, I started dating this cheerleader, and what's interesting is, once that happened, the way people saw me changed. And it wasn't just girls, it was guys too. All of a sudden, I was invited to sit at the lunch table with the stars of the football team. And it even goes deeper. I went from sitting on the bench every game to playing on special teams. There was nothing about me that had changed. So I think it's pretty clear. Female attention raised my perceived value in the eyes of other people. So think about that. Dating the right person took me from being the butt of the joke to having respect, recognition, and opportunity. And that's what makes modern dating advice so powerful. It speaks to a version of masculinity where men measure themselves through what they can produce in others: attraction, approval, selection. And for men, that messaging lands because men have spent generations being shown that the right woman is not just a partner, but also evidence. She's evidence that you're desirable, evidence that you've made it, evidence that you're valuable. And for some men, it's seen as a statement on your manhood. And that's the exact flaw being exposed by today's dating environment. Because before the internet, modern dating advice had more weight because things were slower, attraction had more time to build, the field was smaller. But the environment we're living in now is very different. The marketplace is no longer your school, church, or neighborhood. It's the infinite scroll. You have an infinite amount of dating apps to choose from. Advice that used to help a man stand out in a room barely helps him stand out on a social media feed. And as frustrating as that is, I actually think it's a good thing because technology is exposing a limitation that's always been there. It's exposing how much of male self-worth has been built around female approval, and it's opening the door for a deeper conversation, a conversation I believe should have happened a long time ago. And that conversation is really about identity, worth, and where a man should actually build from. So look at it like this. If I asked you, what is a man? Most of you would probably say something like being responsible, providing, protecting, being reliable, showing up, carrying weight. And to be honest, none of those answers are random. Those answers come from real conditions. Because for most of history, men were expected to be useful, reliable, and strong because life actually demanded that. But I want you to notice something. Almost every answer is in relation to other people. A man is someone who provides for someone, protects someone, leads someone, is needed by someone, respected by someone. So the obvious question becomes, who is a man when he's independent of other people? What happens when the dating market becomes so chaotic, inflated, and distorted that those old signals stop meaning what they used to mean? Who is he then? Men have built their self-worth around external validation in a world where external confirmation has become unstable, inconsistent, and cheap. This is a problem because for generations, men have been taught to understand themselves in relation to others, but the modern environment is forcing us to confront something deeper. What internal structure allows a man to provide, protect, and lead without needing the world to constantly confirm who he is? I call that internal structure frame. When a man develops a strong frame, modern dating advice becomes less about tricks for getting chosen by women and more of a byproduct of a man at peace with himself, independent of female validation. You see, when a man stops building himself around female response and approval, he becomes harder to be manipulated by it. Frame is having a stable sense of self that does not rise or fall based on other people's approval, attention, moods, or reaction. No matter how much life tests you, you don't lose a sense of who you are. And frame cannot be faked because it's not just about what you feel internally, but it's how you take that inner stability and allow it to show up in your behavior, because that's something that people feel. Perfect example, men without frame walk around saying, women only want 6-foot guys with money and looks. A man with frame says, she doesn't decide if I'm attractive, I do. She decides if she qualifies. And he does so because his reality is strong enough to hold its own. She can either join it or not. A man with frame never chases approval, he filters for alignment. And that's if he even wants to date at all, because the last thing that he will ever do is trade his time, energy, and attention for nothing in return. Frame is not a strategy for getting women. It's the reason you stop needing one. Many men think the problem is that women are hard to deal with. And I'm not here to disagree. There's a lot of truth in that. But I think an even deeper problem is if your sense of self-worth has any weak spots, modern dating will expose them. Because attraction, rejection, silence, inconsistency, and ambiguity put pressure in all the places men leave unsettled. And we also have to be a little honest. Modern dating did not invent male insecurity. It simply removed the delays that used to hide it. And so that's why a lot of men can check every box and still feel like nothing works. In the old environment, external success could cover internal instability long enough to secure a partner. Now it shows up sooner. It shows up when you spend hours swiping and get nothing, when you finally get a match, put effort into an opening message, and get a one-word response. It shows up when you're checking your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for her reply, and start spiraling when it doesn't come. It shows up when ghosting feels like a verdict on your worth instead of just information. You see, your reaction to these things, to this environment, is where the cracks exist. So ask yourself honestly, when her energy shifts, when she goes quiet, when the text gets shorter, what happens inside you? Do you stay solid? Can you sit in that tension? Or do you rush to fix things, keep the peace, pacify? Because that reaction is the leak. That's the problem. Frame is built by facing those things, by dealing with the part of you that still needs a woman's response to feel like a man. Because this dynamic with women, it doesn't stop at dating. It follows you into relationships, and that's where the real tests show up. You see, a lot of men in relationships, they start adjusting to keep the peace. They stay quiet about what's really bothering them until one day something sets them off, and then they blow up because they couldn't hold it in any longer. A man without frame ends up apologizing for the blow up while never dealing with what actually caused it. And that's how normal tension turns into instability, because men are inside relationships not having a sense of self or sharing that with their partner. But you see, a man with real frame, he stays grounded. He communicates what bothers him without collapsing into an argument. And ironically, that creates a space a woman can actually lean into, because that man isn't constantly being managed by fear or avoidance of conflict. Frame builds a ground to stand on. It's not a strategy. It's a way of life. If there's anything you take away from this video, I want you to know that a man in frame does not treat dating outcomes like final verdicts on his character. He simply treats them like data, because that's all it is. A ghost, a mixed signal, a woman who enjoys your presence but doesn't choose you. None of that becomes a statement about your self-worth or your manhood. It's simply information, because it's happening to everybody. It's information about her, information about the environment, information about what you will and won't accept. A man in frame does not spiral. He sees clearly, and you move accordingly. Because every time you have an urge to chase a woman, over-explain, perform, that's a moment for you to return back to your frame. I don't think this message would have landed a year ago, but now we're in an environment where more and more men are walking away from dating. But the problem is, they're not walking away out of peace. They're walking away out of frustration. And I, of all people, understand that because I have felt the same thing. However, I also believe that if you're gonna walk away, you need to know what you're walking toward. And I honestly believe the answer to that question is strengthening your frame. Because frame is the difference between chasing outcomes with women and becoming so grounded that outcomes stop controlling you. And once your frame is strong enough, modern dating won't have the same hold on you as it does now. And to be honest, this has changed my life. I hope you all enjoyed the video.